Hello and welcome back to Coinscrum's Meet the Founders interview. We're joined today by Toby Lewis of Novum Insights. Toby, welcome.
Hi, Oscar. Great to be here with Coinscrum. Amazing.
Great to have you on the show. So for today, I thought we'd probably start with a little bit of background. I know you've been in the space active for quite a few years now. I think Novum has been going for 4 or 5 years. But before that, I'd be really interested in getting a bit more input about your previous life and how you got into it.
No, 100%. So before I set up Novum Insights 4 to 5 years ago, I'd actually co-founded another startup, which was an analyst firm of venture capital. So a group called Global Corporate Venturing, where we looked at how the sort of large corporations invested in startups and sort of basically documented the strategies of how Intel Capital, which is the investment arm of Intel, would invest, or Google Ventures or Tencent. And it was a very intriguing niche of the VC industry. And I got very interested in the data science and data analytics side of that business, and sort of took it forward, documenting data sets. And it struck me that it was necessary to really specialize in a particular kind of tech domain to really understand particular areas well, to create a really strong product. And at the time, set up Novum Insights in 2016, and when I was setting it up, blockchain was very, very interesting to lots of different people, but not very many people understood it at all. And it was throwing off a whole bunch of data and strange things, and like Ethereum had just come out, and it was a very exciting area to begin trying to map and wrap our head around. And I'm really glad I did it, because the space was even more complicated and wild than I imagined.
Oh, really interesting. I'll get back to that later, actually, because that's really interesting how, you really seem to focus not on what a lot of other companies do, which is the market data, the blockchain data. It seems like you're very much more company focused. But before we get there, so tell me a little bit more about Novum Insights and, who makes your team. It'd be really good to get a bit more information on that.
Yeah, so we're a team of data scientists and analysts. So our CTO was formerly a data scientist at CERN. So very good sort of academic technical chops. We've got another tech guy who's like a strong Imperial grad, data programmer as well, very strong sort of Python expertise. We've got quite a strong blockchain technologist who's just in the process of joining us at the moment. And then we're just largely sort of people with a sort of generalist financial analyst background, but a lot of people. One of our advisors was one of the founding team of Risk Metrics, for example. So that's a $1 billion finance company that came up with the concept of VAR. So that was he's got a lot of expertise of how you scale a sort of real unicorn, and the generally, I think we've been attracting some really great talents who see huge potential in the crypto and DeFi space, and just want to build products like that. I guess our dream is to build what would be a Thomson Reuters of crypto and DeFi, really.
That sounds ideal, very exciting. So tell us a bit more about your research platform then. You just alluded to Thomson Reuters, so it sort of helps a bit to get an idea of it, but what does it cover? What sort of tech and databases do you have, and what's your roadmap?
Yeah, no, 100%. So in terms terms of trading data that you alluded to earlier, I think the genesis of where we came to was very much looking at this space through a company framework, and I think when we set up, we thought that the enterprise blockchain space was going to be quite a big focus of it, and then trying to figure out how the crypto world intersected with it. And I think what became apparent to me quite quickly was that a lot of the most exciting stuff was actually happening on the crypto side, right? And a lot of the enterprise blockchain stuff, although I'm certain some of the stuff will be exciting, a lot of it was kind of the wheels were getting snarled up at the proof of concept stage, and is what seemed a classic vaporware area of software space, if you know what I mean. It's sort of like maybe that's unfair, but in crypto broadly, like huge things, hugely ambitious undertakings were coming out, and again with a lot of hype and a lot of I think fairly some people chuck rocks at the crypto space because there is just often style over substance, but at the same time, I think in a broad sense, like I would say a lot of the technical innovation has gone on in the crypto and DeFi space. So we gradually got more and more that we were doubling down in this area, and I think trading data and signals is where we're heading towards. We're keen to look under the hood and do sort of fundamental sort of analysis and trying to analyze what is actually going on in a particular project. But at the same time, we're looking for signals linked to movements in the underlying blockchain. What the product that we built at the moment that's doing pretty well is our momentum pairs product. So we've essentially looked at 30,000 different pairs that are currently on Uniswap, and then looking at the ones that are trending the most. So the ones that have most momentum, which are about 200, 300, we look at as a prism over a 7, 30, and 90-day period and go, look, these tokens are interesting from an investor's standpoint to have in a diversified portfolio. And then what we want to do is help people look under the hood and go, well, how widely held is this actual token? What's the actual underlying blockchain activity like for it? And how much potential does this particular project have?
Mm-hmm. No, interesting. So in terms of roadmap, do you think that's slightly going to define your short to medium term roadmap, really the DeFi movement?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. Because, I mean, if you think about it, the space has, under some estimates, got up to $100 billion in market cap as DeFi. It was below 1 billion this time last year. So the growth in DeFi is so astonishing that we want to use it as a beachhead to tackle the entire kind of $2 trillion crypto industry, if you know what I mean. Because I think that and I also feel like the decentralized exchanges are more of an innovation than like your traditional centralized exchange space. So it kind of feels like it's an area of the market where something sort of a new paradigm is coming about. And that's always the kind of places where we want to be.
Yep. Sounds like a good place to be indeed. So tell me a little bit more about your customers. So you've pulled out momentum pairs recently. What kind of profile does your typical customer have, if that's the area of growth that's strongest?
Yeah, And that's a really good question. So traditionally, like you heard, I had that sort of enterprise background, and we'd been working with Hitachi and a bunch of large corporates and some VCs. With this DeFi, I would say DeFi is more of a intelligent enthusiasts arena at the moment, and we're kind of prepping for institutionalization. So effectively, you can demo the Momentum Pairs product for £1 for a week and just play around with it. And then you can have an annual subscription for 300. So it's designed to be like anyone, it's designed to be useful for anyone deploying upwards of £3,000 into the crypto markets, which is most people who are deciding to get. I think so. We're designed to be a safe home for anyone looking at crypto and DeFi, where you can get people who are thinking about the markets, thinking about outliers. And the great thing is a lot of the people who've subscribed to us are already like, well, you made our money back in more than in my first trade, so I'm happy, kind of thing. And obviously, like the thing about the Momentum Pairs of the first product is those kind of things. A lot of them are going up 50 to 100% in a week, and by definition, they may well go down 50%, but they could also return your money in 2 weeks. So as a diversified portfolio, they've got some quite interesting characteristics, and as we peel back the onion and you get more signals and those kind of things, like we're feeling we're building a product that I'm told by people in fintech, what we're doing is we're building a movement. So a bunch of people who get really happy that they can come onto this platform. We've got like a WhatsApp group, we've got a training group. And then people go, we share ideas. So like a month ago, we've got like this play portfolio. And a month ago, we went, well, our data suggests the market had dropped 20%. And Matic, which is building a sort of layer 2 interoperability solution, had in that market dump continued to trend pretty well and was up 10%, while the entire market or Bitcoin was down 20, right? So we were like, well, this is quite interesting as a play portfolio because it was a sub-billion-dollar market cap and was solving the problems linked to the Ethereum gas price and didn't seem to be dumping. We just said, look, this is kind of like trying to read into signals and try and guess what this might mean, but let's trade into it. And promptly, I think it got announced that it was listing in Coinbase a week and a half later. The thing was up 3 times. And I think that what's interesting is really actually like the efficient markets hypothesis arguably doesn't work, right? So some of the stuff that you can see in momentum price movements, kind of there's information there that may mean something. It may just be that it's an anomaly in the market, kind of thing. But it's we're trying to build a good trading philosophy for people in the space to bat around and have a safe space to discuss ideas and think about interesting things.
No, that's really interesting, and it's sort of, yes, answered part of my next questions, which was really I was trying to understand slightly what your USP is to other market researchers that are already existent in crypto, although more sort of Bitcoin and most traditional crypto nowadays, we can say. So the block, Masari. So are you really going to push with this sort of DeFi trackers as your USP?
Yeah, 100%. So we've mapped Uniswap, all of that data, and then looked into the intellectual framework around liquidity provisioning as well. So you can go onto our site and you can see where it makes sense to provide liquidity versus hodling. And we will then be adding in interesting charts on where it's cost effective to use staking and liquidity provision and these kind of things, and just try and provide like an intelligent data marketplace for people to track the DeFi space. And our view is that's really, really valuable for people, actually, because the really nice thing about the DeFi space is it is allowing people to go earlier and earlier, and the successful projects there will have will have bigger returns. Like the Matic example is quite a good one, because like in a couple of weeks, it was announced that project listing on Coinbase goes up, right? So sort of almost like interesting projects appearing on Uniswap, on PancakeSwap, on when it gets more developed, some of the other exchanges like Serum and PolkaSwap, which is going to be the Polkadot DEX, and all these kind of areas. We'd love to have a sort of complete mapping of that landscape, right? But as a basic rule of thumb, firstly, you've got that space will be the feeder to sort of bigger exchange land, to FTX, to Binance, to Coinbase, to Kraken, wherever, right? And so it should be at least an area where you can hunt for outsized returns. Then on the second point, there's all these really interesting kind of yield strategies where you can get 10 to 20% returns over the US dollar net of fees, right? So that's also very, very interesting, and where you're taking limited market risk, where you're effectively holding like a USDC and euros, the euro stable coin and the US dollar stable coin together, and you can use that to like you can compose a portfolio which is 50% stable coin and 50% like high beta assets, and ideally outperform Ethereum or Bitcoin, but taking much less risk, right? That's the dream and the holy grail of like where we'd like to try and help people go. And we're pretty certain like we set up our own little investment vehicle, and it is today outperforming Ethereum, which I think has got to be like how you look at it. And then what we'd love to do is build indices as well and other products that people can piggyback off effectively.
Interesting. So it sounds like you're going to have a lot more to do with the likes of FTX, and maybe move into more of the financial products side of things eventually.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the trajectory that I think you kind of it's what makes sense in this space, because like that was literally, we built a DeFi calculator that's free to use on our site because we were just interested in like how you calculate hodling an LP, and people went, that's really, really interesting, can I just give you some money to manage? Because like they didn't want to have to go in and figure out like how to do it all themselves. So it was kind of a niche on that front. But I think it's the different areas. So we're doing workshops and data software on one side, and then going, look, how do we help people do that? And I think the natural, like you say, the natural thing is building products that can allow people to piggyback off a smart strategy without having to do very much work.
Perfect. Looking forward to the Novum ETF for
exactly.
some point soon. So essentially, the next question was really about the sort of elephant in the room for all the hardcore ETH supporters, which for the past few months for me has been really Binance Smart Chain, which has had an explosive start to the year. We saw BNB go from 40 to 300 in the space of days. and huge amounts of yield farming projects. How are you guys positioning yourselves with that? Because I know it's a different chain, a different set of databases, so it's probably a lot more work. But how are you guys positioning yourselves around that?
Yeah, no, and that's a really, really good question. So, and I think it's actually it makes a ton of sense, right? I think PancakeSwap is more attractive to most people who are enthusiasts, in the sense that the costs of Ethereum are at the moment painful, right? So you need to almost be,
say the least,
like a significant whale to be playing around in the Ethereum space at scale, and doing all the cool stuff that makes it interesting, right? So the like, I would estimate that it's only really worth doing like LP contracts and those kind of things on Uniswap or Curve or whatever when you've got 10K plus to play around with, right? Because if not, you get crucified by the gas fees, which is most people, right? At the end of the day, a lot of people are playing around in this space with 10, 20K, maybe less of savings, right? And or speculative capital. And that's a lot of money to be putting into a high risk area. Like really, if a financial advisor was talking to you, then you should probably have like 100K to 200K to 300K to be putting 10 to 20K in this very high risk arena, right? I'm pretty sure that's not the case for most people that are doing it, but and I think crypto is a very addictive space, so a lot of people get in sort of probably more than 50% of their net worth ends up being there. But still, it's quite a lot of money for an intelligent enthusiast or whatever. So we've had our clients basically go, look, we really want to have data on PancakeSwap, right? Because at the end of the day, Uniswap is slightly for whales and we're a broader church. So what we've done as an initial fix is just match up the Uniswap data with BNB, with Binance, FTX, PancakeSwap, Kraken, and Coinbase, right? Some of the bigger exchanges where people, I think Balancer as well. So some of the exchanges where people might also be deploying money, many of those that I listed are some of the sort of most actively traded exchanges or popular, and there was definitely feedback of like the intelligent hobbyists among us is like, well, I played around with MetaMask and Uniswap, but it was devouring my capital. So I went to Binance Smart Chain, and although there's fewer cool projects to invest in there and a lot of like real speculative junk, I think people are going, well, look, I'd rather be on BSC. But interestingly, like in the developer community, I think you'll hear a different story. But...
Oh, really? That's interesting.
As you know, we're collaborating with Alden, a mutual friend, and we were doing an advisory project, and I think some Ethereum developers were like, "There's no way I'm touching this project if you're doing something on Binance Smart Chain." But I think that's almost like a religious thing where Binance is a kind of Marmite exchange for some people in this space, right?
No, that's really interesting. So yeah, we've just spoken about the different chains, and you said, you know, you look at where the data's at. I know it might be a bit too early for some of those chains, but what's your hunch on the different sort of chains? What's the next BSC essentially?
Yeah, no, I think I think there's a lot of buzz around Polkadot, and I'd say my view is the key at the moment is those ones that build a successful DEX, so decentralized exchange. I think that will provide a lot of the sort of I guess if you look at how Binance Smart Chain, the reason why it's suddenly been able to get traction is actually because PancakeSwap has one mind share, right? So there's two things they need. The chain needs to work, which I think a lot of those other chains do, and then they actually need a successful product on those chains, right? So PancakeSwap is probably still a rare example, because like I played with like the new Avalanche DEX, and it was just so unuser friendly that you kind of like you give it half an hour to 1 hour, and then you're like, this is just painful. So give up and move on. Whereas actually, I'd say like PancakeSwap was relatively user friendly, and similarly with on Solana, Serum doesn't work that well, right? And then you look at what is quite interesting is the founders of CryptoKitties, Dapper Labs. Apparently, their protocol that they've been developing is working quite well for NBA top shops, right? So I think it's kind of almost like table stakes is, if the product works well and has low fees, is great, but it actually needs a product to be built on, right? Like it needs an avenue for people to do stuff on, because you can have as fast a blockchain as you like, but if there's no utility on it, then it doesn't really matter. And I think that is it's getting, so arguably the Dapper Labs blockchain is almost ahead of Polkadot, because I don't know anyone really at the moment who's using stuff on Polkadot, right? Like Polkastarter itself is being funded on Ethereum in general. So, but we're really, really early in the industry, and I think that different things are happening. And for now, I think like a lot of smart people seem to think that the layer 2 solutions of Ethereum might well be where stuff happens. But we'll see what Binance Smart Chain has to offer, right? Like if arguably it's a 2-horse race between those two chains at the moment, and then the others are being attributed a lot of value for their potential to take over, but I don't think we've seen it yet.
No, really interesting. That's been a really interesting sort of deeper dive on the DeFi front. To take a bit more of a macro view to finish on, sort of we focus really, really on in terms of shorter, medium-term trading at best. And I guess, I think it wouldn't be unfair to call this sort of parabolic rise similar to what we've seen in 2017. So beyond 2021, what do you expect sort of DeFi to turn into? And also, as a second part to that question is, do you think Bitcoin, we could see a resurgence of layer 2 solutions on Bitcoin to actually start to challenge that a little bit, like the block stacks of...
Yeah. So I've been doing quite a lot of talks with a group related to Blockstack. So I'm really excited by it, because I think at the end of the day, Bitcoin has the mind share and the brand of this space, right? Like so Lightning and Blockstack, I think, are potentially really, really exciting. I think that the yield solutions like BlockFi with a Bitcoin angle are great. I also think Badger DAO is really exciting, which is kind of like a Bitcoin meets Ethereum project where they built this coin that sort of tracks the price of Bitcoin called Dig, and then are looking to sort of reach between Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? So I think there's a lot of people, like Bitcoiners, almost treat Bitcoin like a religion, right? So it's kind of, I find that a bit off-putting, and I kind of find it a bit too sectarian, and I'm just like a pragmatist, and like I think like a lot of exciting stuff has been built on Ethereum, so why wouldn't you spend time there? But yeah, I do love the potential for smart contracts being built in Bitcoin, and like I could see like there being a bit of a sea change if Blockstack can win mind share and people actually do stuff and you earn Bitcoin for using it. It makes a ton of sense to me. And then if Lightning could actually become user friendly and people could actually do stuff with it, right? It's almost like tech solutions where you're needing to sort of curse and spend an hour to make it work, and it doesn't just work. There's always a problem, right? That's one of the things that like the great thing about Ethereum land is it works, other than that you're rinsed for fees everywhere you go. So you'll go as long as but then you get returns that compensate you for that. But every area of crypto, the user experience is suboptimal, but it's so cool that it doesn't matter. It's kind of my view.
No, I mean, I think it's a very, very accurate description of the state at the moment. So let's hope we overcome this UX sort of barrier. But listen, it's been a pleasure, Toby. Thank you very much for coming on the show, and looking forward to having you many more times in the future with, the future data you're going to bring to the table, which is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah, amazing. And thanks to you, Oscar and Paul and the Coinscrum team. I think you guys are doing great sort of work promoting the space.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.